Welcome to Dr. Susan's Corner, where you're going to receive a short but powerful dose of hope and light. I'm so excited to be here today. I am Dr. Susan Agbenoto, and I'm the author of Restore Me, but Privately, Please, and also New Wine. And I'm really happy to connect with you today because we're going to be diving into some interesting discussions on kids. And with me in the studio today, I mean, it's definitely my privilege to have a 3 decade veteran of Broward County Public Schools. She's worked with every level of student, has expansive knowledge in inspiring the underserved youth. She has a PhD in marriage and family therapy. And hold on and listen to this. She has multiple awards for a book series on it's Sherry and Chubby, right?
Yeah, The Adventures of Sherry and Chubby.
The Adventures of Sherry and Chubby. And that's how I actually connected with Dr. Poitier because I was there when she received all 10 awards. And all I can say is congratulations. And ladies and gentlemen, help me in welcoming Dr. Sherry Poitier. Welcome to the show and thank you so much for availing your time. Now I'm going to just give you the floor to give us a bit of background about yourself.
Okay, so before I get started, I do want to thank you for giving me the opportunity. I know that podcasting is not easy. Um, Being able to get out there and connect with people and bringing them content that they're interested in, I know it's not difficult. So for you to find what I've done worthy of doing that, I really do appreciate that. So as you said, I am a veteran of Broward County Public Schools. I am actually a second generation teacher. Well, I'm technically a school counseling director, but I
Okay.
am in the education field. My mom was a former teacher. She used to teach home ec. And one of the things that got me started in what I'm doing is the fact that she believed in literacy. Like she believed that the best way to have a fulfilled future, make sure that you're walking in purpose and you are doing everything that God created you to do, was to make sure that you were top notch. And one of
Right.
those things required education. So she would take us to the library every Saturday. And I used to say, oh my God, I'm going to be such a nerd. The kids are not going to play with me. I was so upset. But I feel that at that time, she already saw what was ahead. And so she was preparing me at that time. She actually wrote the first book that actually got 2 awards.
Wow.
It received a reward for, it didn't get the award last year when it came to the category, but it did get the distinguished favorite. And what they told me is that even though there was a book that they felt, was a little bit higher in what the message was and the caliber, that my book was their favorite. And then this year I actually had them review it for being an African American fiction book,
Hmm.
and that's when I won that category. So that book actually my mom wrote, like I said, but back in the 70s they felt like there was no audience for a little black girl going out here and speaking hope and believing and having faith. And I call Sherry the hope whisperer, and that's what she does in this series, The Adventures of Sherry and Chubby. She kind of brings people together with hope. um,
Mm.
each one of the books talks about a different character trait that we want our kids to emulate, to actually use, because the best way to make good decisions is based on good character. And so
Correct.
what I decided I was going to do, by working in the Broward schools for so long, one of the things I really felt that we didn't do the best job in is demonstrating exactly what we want our kids to do. We tell them,
Mm.
be honest. We tell them, you got to be tolerant. But do we demonstrate that? Sometimes they need it spelled out. And one of the things I loved about Fat Albert is that's what he did. He taught us to
Mm,
be good kids. He
right.
didn't say, be a good kid and do this. What he did was he showed us how to do it. And that's what I try to do with Sherry and Chubby, kind of show kids how to be honest and show them when your back is against the wall how you can still be tolerant.
Wow, I like that a whole lot. So I know that you won the high school counselor of the year in 2016,
Hmm.
17. You won
Yes.
teacher of the year award in 2016, 17. You won teacher of the year award in 2017, 18. I mean, you are just an award carrier. And I think that whenever you have passion about something, when you're
Hmm.
passionate about a mission, it's almost effortless. And when you start to see some of these awards and recognitions, not that you're going for the recognition, but
Hmm.
the passion itself speaks for the content and the outputs that's generated. So based on that, can you give me a quick background on the story behind you're creating this series on the adventures of Sherry and Chubb, which we'll get into a little bit down the road. But like, tell me a little bit of the inspiration behind it, the journey behind it that made you have all these books that you have out now.
Also, the children's series, because I have a children's and a
Mhm.
teen series.
Right,
So the
correct.
children's series started out, like I said, I really just wanted to honor my mom. She passed away my first year of college, and I remember
Oh, I'm
her
sorry
getting
to hear
those.
that. Mhm.
Yeah, I remember her getting the letters from the different publishing companies saying no, that they weren't going to publish her book. Like I said, that there was no audience for it. And I can remember that clear as day. I can remember her getting the letter and looking at the defeat on her face and her balling the letters up and leaving them on the table. And then I would be nosy and go in on, open them and read to
Mm,
see what they said. And so I promised myself that I was going to one day publish that book, because, of course, she only had the one. I was going to publish it in her honor because I
okay.
wanted what she wanted to come true. And what that was is she told me that one day I was going to be in a book. And parents tell you that, and when you're little, you think, oh, they just say that because I'm their kid. They're not,
Right.
it's not reality. It's not something that's really going to happen. But because she died, so young, and I feel like she didn't get the opportunity to fulfill her dream of placing me in this book, I was gonna, extend it and make sure that that happened. So that's
Hmm.
how I started with the publishing the first book. I self-published it, and then people read the story and were like, oh my god, the story is so amazing, and it really, really is.
Yes.
Like I tell people all the time, if you ask me which is the best one, that's the best one. No shame in my game. um, but I was like, okay, this is really good. And then the person came to me and they were like, okay, now where's the next book? And I'm like, no, 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 no. There's only one. She only wrote
Yeah.
one. But one of the language arts teachers that I worked with said, baby, the word adventures with an S is plural. That means you need more than one. And I was like, oh, no. I
Oh,
was
there
like, the
you go.
author is not here. And I said, you know what? If it was in her DNA, it's got to be in here somewhere.
That's
So
right.
I remembered at that time the school board didn't really have character education. Like they had the different traits and they, honored the traits, and they, had announcements and kind of like talked to the kids about it, but there was no real curriculum. So I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take these character traits. I'm going to use some stories from my life, the life of my students, because all of the characters in my books are former students, or family members. And I said, what I'm gonna do is make, um, being a good kid, having good character, make it something touchable, something that the kids can hear, see, feel, understand, and then emulate. So that's how I kind of got started. And then I felt bad because the teenagers, I missed them. They,
Mm,
by the time I wrote the books, they were already in high school or middle school, high school, and I felt like they were being left out. So what I decided to do with that was think about the issues that they face, because a lot of times our kids are going through stuff and they don't know who to talk to, because
right.
their parents are saying, "Don't put my business in the street." the people at the school are trying to get in their business because they're trying to help. Some of them, you know, hopefully
Right.
that's what they're trying to do. But because there's such a disconnect in the fact that we're trying to help and then we're trying to, you know, be the overseer of what's going on in your house,
Right.
people are kind of not comfortable with getting help. And I wanted to normalize the fact that everybody needs help. So that's why the team books, each of them have a certain topic that kids are experiencing and having issues with. So it's like bullying, depression. Because sometimes kids don't know they're depressed. They think I'm sad, and then that's it. Because who's talking to them about what depression looks like? Who's showing them what depression looks like? I know in my household, my mom had problems, but she didn't tell me what the problems were.
Right.
She
Right.
lived it out and she did it on her own. So, how would I know what I need to do? Because I didn't have an example. Most of the time, adults hide what they're going through from their kids because they feel like the kids are not old enough to be able to understand it.
Right.
So, what I wanted to do is, things that these kids are experiencing and put it on a level where they can relate to it so that the book and what they're learning and what they're going through, they have somebody that says, hey, it's okay if you need to talk to somebody. It's okay if you need help getting past something because you're sad about it, but you've been sad about it for a month. That's
That's
not
right.
sad anymore. Now we've moved on to depression and we need to do something about it before it, overtakes you.
You know what? That's really inspiring. Just hearing the evolution of that, and to all my listeners, if you want to check out Dr. Sherry's books, they are on Amazon, and if you type in her name, we're gonna have the link on the screen as well. Dr. Sherry Poitier, all her adventures of Sherry and Chubb. I think that it's a great series for both the adults, so you know what your child is reading, but also to recommend for teenagers and children that it's just healthy, wholesome content to read. Now I really wanted to shift a little bit and ask you, I like to use the word trends a lot, but in today's world, in today's society with social media and just trying to compete with images, what are some of the trends of issues that you're seeing with teenagers? Let's start with teenagers because I think that it's harder definitely to reach teenagers than it is to reach kids because they are at a place where they keep more to themselves, they share less, they feel nobody understands. What are some of the trends you're seeing and the issues they're facing, and what kind of advice would you give to parents that are out there, teachers that are out there concerning this?
What I'm seeing most of all, which is a reason why I wrote the books that I did, was a lot of bullying, whether
Mhm.
it's physical bullying, in your face bullying, cyber bullying. Like, we didn't have to deal with cyber bullying, but
Right.
some of this stuff where things are happening. I volunteered over the summer to work at one of the YMCA's here locally because they really don't have mental health services available to them. So I volunteered because one of the things I realized is that the kids are experiencing like issues. For example, I had a little girl who was tricked into doing something and recording herself, and
Mm.
she sent it to her boyfriend, and then he put it on, I want to say on Facebook
Oh
and
no.
Instagram, and then even though he pulled it down, eventually it was too late. It was already out there. The
It's
footprint was out
already there.
there.
Mhm.
Yes. And so being able to deal with the aftermath of bad decisions, that's what I'm noticing the most because the mother's upset. Like, why would you do that?
Right.
And so she's trying to explain to the mother why she did it.
Mhm.
And the mother is like just embarrassed because how could
Right.
my child do that. The mother is angry because now she has her daughter facing all of these things and pretty much almost like her life is ruined, like
Right.
everybody's gonna have this, you know, thought of her, but nobody's dealing with emotionally what is she going through.
Mm.
Because yes, she made a bad decision. Yes, her, digital footprint is pretty bad. And yes, everybody around her knows about it. But what are
Right.
we doing to help her get through it? Yes, we have to teach her that what she did wasn't right. And, I understand you're making sure that she doesn't do it again. But the emotional anguish, the social disconnect, like those are the things that I'm noticing the most. Like, even one of my books is about social media and how
Okay.
just a click, a
Right.
few lines could change your whole life. I
Right.
once had like a lot of the kids, because I'm their counselor, they would have me write, recommendation letters for college. And I had a college call me, which was one of
Mm.
the main reasons why I wrote the social media book,
Hmm.
because they called me and said, "Hey, um, I'm calling you about this student. You wrote her a recommendation letter." And so I'm like, "Oh, yes, this is one of my good students." And I proceed to try to, convince them that this is a good choice for
Yeah.
admissions. And the lady stopped me. She said, "No, I'm calling to tell you that you need to be careful on who you give recommendations to."
Oh
She
no.
said, "Because we looked at this child's social media, and because of the content of it, we are not offering admissions.
Oh,
I only called you, ma'am, to warn you that you're wanting to be good and do good and help, the kids with their future. You're, endangering your own reputation
credibility.
because,
Correct.
right, because um, this student had, when I say, like, I was ashamed when I
Oh,
actually went
wow.
and looked it up. I was ashamed that I was even associated with them. And of course,
Wow.
I'm like one of the mothers, so I called her and I was like, "Hey, I can't believe you this and this, and now you're not getting admitted to the school that of your choice because bad decisions on the internet." And so
Yes.
that's some of the things that I see the most, is kids making these bad decisions, and they really don't have much direction, because a lot of parents, they'll come in the room and say, "Hey, you all right? Everything good? Tell me about your day." And then the kids give them these one liners, especially the older they get. Once
Right.
they get like to middle and high school, the communication becomes a lot shorter. And
Absolutely.
even myself as a school counselor, I would go in and sit with my daughter and talk to her, and she still wouldn't open up and tell me some of the things that were going on with her. The other kids in the school had to tell me, because they would
Mm.
tell me anything, and I used to tell her all the time, "I can't believe that you
Right.
you
Right.
wouldn't tell me." And I had to hear it from them, and they're like, "Yeah, they free
Right.
to tell you anything because they don't have to live with you." And
Ah,
I was
that's
like,
right.
"Oh." So that's one of the things in hindsight, I'm like, you know what? We have to make sure that we are intentional about making sure the lines of communication are open with our kids, because the older they get, the more influences they have around them. And yes, it's unavoidable.
Yeah.
Only thing you can do is make sure that you are teaching them the right way to go, because that's one thing that's never going to change. If you teach them the right way, whether they follow it right away or not, they have a reference. And
Right.
when stuff, starts going left, like I tell kids, everybody going to have a time where things go left. How
Hmm.
far left it goes depends on the decisions you made before, during, and after. So you have to make sure that you're creating a space where no matter what, your child feels comfortable talking to you. And that's very difficult. It's something that you have to figure out. You can't do the same thing your parent did, because your child is
Right.
not you. You can't do the same thing all of these things say, the books say. And that's actually my next book. I'm going to finally write in a book for adults. And it's going to be this lady, she asked me to write a book about getting her kid to do what she wants. And I was like, as
Every parent wants to read that book.
yes, And as she was saying it to me, it was almost like God was downloading
Mm-hmm.
this book into me right there. And I said, it's not about you getting them to do what you want. It's about you knowing who your child is, knowing what your child is supposed to do and be, and then pouring into that. I tell people all the time, you have to always believe that any child that is your child because God chose you.
I
So
like that.
there's no other parent that they can have that'll do what you can do. So now you got to figure out what it is about you and your child that will connect you, and that's what you have to do to get them to do what's in their best interest, not what you want, because sometimes we want our kids to go to college. But if God created them to do something else and it doesn't require college, you taking them out of his path, and then you want it to work out and it's not going
Mm,
to. You have to make them the child that God created to walk in what purpose he created for them. And when you do that, all the other things will come into play. They might not come into play right away, because sometimes we have to fall to understand what it's like to fall, because maybe our job is going to be to restore. We
right.
can't restore somebody if we never fell. You
Mm,
can't say to some kid, like I should tell kids all the time, never understood why the wildest kids, the ones that nobody else could control, just gravitate to me. And I used to be
right.
looking at them like, no, what is that about? And what I realized, that there was a point in my life when my mom passed away, I kind of didn't care. I didn't have much direction, because my dad, he was married, he was doing his thing, and he felt like, I raised you, so now you grown, handle it.
Mm,
And so I
mm,
kind of was left out there just to make it happen. And even though I was taught the right way and I knew the right way, I had too much freedom. And
right.
so I
Right.
just went a little buck wild. And that is why now I can look a kid in the face who's buck wild and be like,
Right.
girl, no, boy, no. This
Right.
is what
Yeah.
you're trying to do. And then I disclose what I went through. No
Mm-hmm.
shame, because I have a PhD, I'm award winning, everything, pretty
Right.
much. So I know that there was a point in my life where there was a lot of shame, but because I was going through that and I made it on the other side, now I can help somebody who's on that side come over here, because I have a story to tell them, and not sit there like, oh, I know everything and I'm such a good person and you need to listen to me. No, these kids don't care nothing about that. They don't want to
Right.
hear that.
Right.
They don't
Right.
want to look at the perfect mom. Cause my daughter used to
Mhm.
always be like, "Oh my God, you're so perfect." And that was one of the things I started doing. Like as she got older, I'm like, "Girl, let me tell you, I did this." And she was like, "What?
Yeah.
Are you serious?" Yeah, I've been arrested. Yeah, I had to do community service. I've had to do quite a few
Yeah.
things
Mhm. But look
that
at you now. But
are
look at
not
you
on my
now.
resume,
Right.
but they're on my resume.
Mhm. Right, right. And you've gone from all of that, and today here you are, a PhD, award-winning teacher, award-winning author. So there's hope. I mean, and I
Mhm,
think as we're starting to wrap up, I can't believe how much time has gone already. This has been so helpful, so insightful. I wanted to quickly pick your brain on how to balance between giving your child, you just mentioned freedom, okay?
mhm,
Giving them that freedom so they know their identity, they're
mhm.
growing, especially growing in the way of God, and also discipline. How do you balance, that
The
whole they
boundary
need this
lines.
exactly? How
Yes.
what would you tell a parent who's just struggling with drawing those boundaries and knowing that not all kids are the same, but
Mhm.
generally, what advice would you give to parents out there struggling with that boundary line?
Yeah. So a lot of people are so concerned about looking like they are their kid's friend, and
Mhm,
looking like they are the disciplinarian who doesn't listen. So what I say is the best way to judge the line is to let the child know what a line is.
mm,
That's the one of the main reasons why kids have issues, because remember, they're watching their friends and what their parents do. They're watching what the world does and how they operate. They're watching TV shows, they're watching all of these things, and they're getting all of this information from everywhere.
Right.
So sometimes the lines do get blurred if you don't tell them where the lines are. Like when I was a teacher, I never had discipline problems in my classroom. And that was because I had one rule. I told them that I am always right. In this room right here, I'm always right. I said, so, and the reason why I'm always right is because anything that goes wrong in this room, I'm responsible for it.
Right.
So it's not okay for you to do what you want, but then I have to pay for it.
Mm.
That's not going to work. I don't come to your house and run all over you. If I came to your house, I would knock on the door. I wouldn't just walk in because I'm grown. I would respect whatever boundaries you have in your room. So this is my room and I'm responsible. There are different things that I would like. I put on the wall that Queen P is always right. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, when in doubt, see rule number 1. That was it.
I
When
like
I
that.
wanted them to do stuff, I didn't tell them, I asked them. And I asked them, and because I take 2 weeks of time to build the lines, to build the respect, to let them know that we are a family, we are working together. I have my things that I need to do, you have
Mhm.
yours. When I get up and talk, I appreciate it if you not, because if you were to raise your hand and I just kept talking and I didn't answer you, you would think that was just disrespectful and rude. I don't do that. I acknowledge you and then let you speak and then I speak. So I feel like the same way. So when I used to get up in front of my classroom, I didn't have to say be quiet or da da da. When they saw me stand up, they knew that that was a sign for them to quiet down. I made them get life lessons. When
Mm.
they were in there, if they had work to do, I didn't tell them you couldn't talk. I would tell them, as long as I don't hear your conversation at my desk, that means you are talking appropriately, because you have to teach them how to function in society. Now,
Okay.
if they had work due at the end of the period, if you sat there and talked and then it was time to turn that work in and you ain't turned it in, you're gonna get a 0. And they'll be like,
Mm.
but he was talking. It's not about that. I'm teaching you what you can and can't do. That's the best way
Amazing.
to teach them. I don't have
Yes.
to tell you you can't talk and work at the same time. I don't have to do that. I could show you that. And that's what I
Mm.
did. I showed them. I would say, okay, the one kid turned in their work and their friend turned in nothing. And the friend be smiling and whatever. And I'm like, oh, that's your friend. Your friend, they ain't no good friend. They
Oh
let
boy.
you sit there and talk. And they were doing their work though. And what did they learn? They learned that I can't sit, I can't talk and work. They learned that some people are not for my best interest. You understand? Like I taught them lessons in real life. I used to give them projects where they had different things they had to do. For example, instead of them teaching about sex ed and going through the book and all of that, I had a baby project. I made them have to carry a baby, one of those baby
Mm.
alive dolls. They had to journal about it because it gave them a chance to express their feelings, thoughts, and work out a plan. They had a budget. They only had so much money. They had to be able to take care of their baby with that money. That way they
Amazing.
learn math skills, they learn how to calculate, they learn how to actually run a house. I said, okay, now if anything is wrong with the baby is dirty, you leave the baby unattended. I used to actually have court sessions. I used to have it called DCF Day. And
Mm.
if a kid came and told me about somebody not taking care of their baby, then we would sit around, we would have court. I was a judge, I had witnesses. I made them have realistic, actual functions. So, what I
That's
say to
incredible.
parents, yeah, you can't just tell them. You know how the kids say, don't talk about it, be about it. If you
Yes.
want them to know boundaries and you want them to, make sure that they're operating the way they need to be when they leave your home so that they're protected, so that they are able to do what they need to do, you have to demonstrate what it looks like. You can't just say, do what I said because I said it. Now you're teaching them to be a follower and not a thinker. You
Mm.
say, do this because, and you explain why. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to buy into it because they understand it's for their best interest. I used to get so mad at my mom. She wouldn't let me go out and hang out and do stuff. I didn't know she was doing that to protect me and keep me
Right.
from being loose and, messing up my future. I just thought she was a prison, like,
Right.
ward,
Right.
a prison guard, because
Yeah.
she never explained to me why. I feel like had she said, I don't want you doing this because of this. Yeah, no, she didn't have to, but wouldn't that make it better so that now when I do have issues, concerns, I feel comfortable talking to you because you felt comfortable talking to me? You
Mm.
can't expect your child to do something you don't do.
I can tell that there's so much more
Mm-hmm.
that is inside of you. And I want to encourage all the listeners out there that if you are curious about how to just communicate with teenage kids, even elementary school, check out these books. And beyond curiosity, if you want to just educate yourself on some of the things that kids are dealing with today, which they'll come home and say everything is fine, but they're dealing with pressures on every single side.
Yep.
Again, I'm going to put the link up there for the Amazon um, directory where you can find all of Dr. Sherry's books. So I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show today. Thank you for taking the time. I know you're busy and
No,
you're
no,
doing
I
so
actually
many
enjoy it.
things.
Look, I could talk about my books all the time,
I
all day,
know.
every day. I
I
can't wait
so
till one day I can
appreciate
do
it.
that for you know for my real job. Like I always tell people,
Right,
this is the passion, the
right.
ministry. So one day I'll be able to do that on a full-time level. So I
Yes, and
appreciate you.
I'm going to be advocating for you. I hope that you can do that full time. And just to everybody who's listening, thank you for really tuning in, for hanging in tight and hearing. If you want to send any comments, any notes, please do so in the link below. But I also want to pray for you that whatever issues you're dealing with when it comes to your children, or even if you're a teenager yourself and you're watching, there is hope. There can be a turnaround. No matter how far left you go, there's always hope for a turnaround. And so, Father, I just pray for everyone that's listening right now. I pray that stretch forth your hand and grant wisdom and grace, Father, to turn situations around. I pray for all the children out there, for kids out there, for parents who are dealing with issues. Grant them the wisdom. Help them, Father, and bless our children. We thank you so much. Bless even our guest today. And I pray that let her message go far and wide. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen and amen. Thank you again, Dr. Sherry. God
Thank
bless you.
you. Bless you
Bye
too.
bye.
Oh, you're always